Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lad for Set Play Gaming. Today we're going to talk about formations, tactics, instructions and positional setup within the FIFA 23 game. Lots of people in the group have complained about keeping the scores down, how to defend properly, and some of you even mentioned now, more than ever, it's impossible to keep a clean sheet on this game. Well, today I'm going to show you some tactics and instructions as well as positional setup that can work for virtually any formation. Now keep in mind, obviously the positional instructions that I set within this example, if you're using a different formation other than the one I'm using, then you are going to have to sort of account for that positioning on the field. So today's formation, what I'm going to look at is 4-2-3-1. It's a popularly used formation, and by default 6 teams from the Premier League use this formation, 6 teams from the Championship use this formation, 5 teams from League 1, and 10 teams, that's nearly half the teams in League 2, also use it. Now it does have its advantages and disadvantages in that while the setup is defensive with 2 holding midfielders, when you win the ball back it can actually be very effective in attack as well. The front 4 can spring forward and you almost have a 4-3-3 with a cam playing in behind the striker, supported on the flanks by wingers. Now Arsenal, Fulham, Leeds, Man United, Southampton and West Ham all use the 4-2-3-1 formation. Now it's important to understand that having played FIFA for a very long time and been on the last 3 closed beta testings, there have been some developments in the background as to how your team lines up and positions on the field. I mentioned this specifically that during closed beta experience, it was noticed by career mode players it's too easy for legendary or world class AI to break through and score against you. It had reached a stage where you could play 10 or 15 games in the Premier League and not actually get a clean sheet. If your team is supposed to be built on some success, then keeping clean sheets is quite important. So what's gone wrong? Well, the CM players did report back to EA in numerous closed beta testing forums about this problem. I specifically remember last year, just 1 week into closed beta, they actually amended the defensive positioning of players. It was actually even easier to score goals, and this is because FIFA Ultimate Team players had complained it was harder now to score goals since EA at the time had nerfed the speed on the players. EA wanted to create easier passing lanes to give higher scoring matches. How do we get round this as career mode players? Well, you have to do a little homework and look at your chosen formation. In today's example, I'm going to be using 4-2-3-1, but this advice can be used on virtually any formation on the game. Defensive positioning is very important. So we're going to have a look at West Ham as an example. So before we get to West Ham, I'm just going to show you the examples of the 4-2-3-1 and the vulnerability of these passing lanes that have been created by the default positionings as you see them on screen. These blue lines are showing you the passing lanes, the danger zones where the AI com is going to expose the space. And you can see that even though it's a defensive formation, in all these examples, the same spaces exist, and that's because the positioning, the default positioning of these players means they're not very compact. There's enough space for the com to run in behind or run in front and make those passing lanes an option for them. And that's what we want to do. We want to try and restrict that and make our formation way more compact to make it harder for the com to get through. We can see West Ham's lineup, and you can see there are clear passing lanes between the 2 CDMs, Rice and Souček, and the 2 centre-backs, Zuma and Kera. You can also see the passing lanes between left mid and right mid and the full-backs, and we'll get to that in a moment. Let's take a look at an example though first. We're going to look at West Ham versus Spurs, and there's been no changes made to these lineups yet. No changes made to the positioning or tactics and instructions at this point. West Ham are defending on default, which is 40 width and 40 depth. And you'll see here Kane is going to pass it in to Højbjerg onto Son, hits the post, and we're lucky that that doesn't go in. So we're just going to freeze that real quick. Look at the positioning of both centre-backs and look at the passing lane that exists between the 2 centre-backs. There's 2 runners there and the 2 central defensive midfielders are too far off the pace. If you select them, it's going to be too late and a free shot on goal. Obviously, for any one of those 2 runners, what actually ends up happening, as you can see, Højbjerg picks out Son and he gets a free shot in the box, which shouldn't really happen. We're going to roll it onto the next highlight. We're going to see that Son picks the ball up here. He's going to thread a through pass to Kulusevski. By the time the indicator is selected, it's too late and he ends up getting a shot on goal. It's a good save. Harry Kane's going to score here on 62 minutes. Again, look at the positioning of the defenders. It's too easy for Tottenham to work this from a short corner. We've got plenty of bodies in the box, but they're just not in the right positions. And then again, we'll see here, again, the player's not in the right position to defend, really, which is a high press. They win the ball back and it's a low shot. Two really easy goals for Spurs. And then at the end here, we're going to have a quick look. Look at the reluctance of the CDMs there to get involved to deal with that danger. We're going to just replay it and then pause it at the right moment as the centre-backs are split apart. Look at where the two central defensive midfielders are. There's no engagement by them at all to close down the danger and help out the defence, when really they should be further back. They should see this danger and think, Spurs are going to score a third here, we need to get back and help out. I mean, if that was you attacking the defence, then yeah, they'd be helping out. So without any changes at all, Spurs really made mincemeat of essentially a 4-5-1 lineup. Even though we were set up defensively, we still conceded two very poor goals. Even with Fabianski playing as well as he did, they still could have scored more. How can we make this formation work? And remember, the overall aim here is to reduce the number of quality attempts the Com can create in those passing lanes that we spoke about before, and try and get a clean sheet, or at best, just reduce them to 1 goal a match, instead of conceding 3 or 4 or even 5 goals to a quality team. Alright, so let's start with the tactics set up. What we want to do is to do pressure on heavy touch. We want to capitalise on any loose balls and put pressure on them, especially when they face their own goal. So we'll use the heavy touch press, and then we'll move the width and depth up to the halfway point, as we don't want to concede any ground at all in our own half. We're also going to be playing more direct and play long balls. We want to use Mikel Antonio's strength and hold up the ball, bring in Fornals, Bowen and Benrahma into the play. Next, we're going to look at positioning. I did mention this to you at the beginning, and this can be applied to any formation provided you have some tactical sense of where each position should be on the field. You need to obviously experiment, but with 4-2-3-1, this is the best optional positions I have found. Start by moving your centre-backs by 10 clicks in, and if you look at the lines of the semicircle to the edge of the penalty area, they should be level with that. You also want to move them back 10 clicks each too. This way they're camped in their own area on defence. The centre-back should be just outside the 6-yard box as well, and in line with the semicircle. You want to move up the two CDMs here and position them so you're now level with the centre-backs. They should be on the fringe of the semicircle on both sides. You can see that both Souček and Rice are in line with Zuma and Kehrer. And also with the fullbacks, you want to bring them in closer to the edge of the area. They are more narrow. If they are attacking fullbacks, they're going to run wide anyway, but their starting or defensive position needs to be narrow and not allow any space in behind them. Move them both in 10 clicks and back 10 clicks so they're level with the centre backs. If you instruct your left mid and right mid to come back on defence, you can align those left mid and right mid to position them inside. They're now level with the new fullback position. Finally, we're going to move on to the CDM instructions as well. We need to have a look at those CDM instructions. What I found is that by default, they position those as cover wing. What actually happens, it's best not to have them cover the wing, because when you're defending and the Com tries to overload the wing, the CDM is going to be drawn out of position, and this happens quite a lot, allowing a free shot in the centre of midfield, which has been a common tactic on for Com sides since FIFA 20, FIFA 21. So now what we're going to do, we've made those changes. We're going to run this back again. We're going to play West Ham versus Spurs. And this time, we're actually going to look at some examples using the new positions and instructions and see how that plays out. See whether the changes I've made have made West Ham a little bit more compact. Let's see how we get on. Son wins the ball here from Zuma, but Kehrer, when selected, is close enough. He can actually intercept the danger and get the ball clear. you'll see Perisic is going to cut inside. He's going to pass it to Kane. Zuma intercepts Kane, and Rice is now close enough to pass the ball out to start an attack for West Ham. And with this example, you're going to see Son will find Kane, and as Kane turns inside, he's intercepted and marked by Kehrer. I'm going to roll this back and pause it just so I can show you. In this example, you can see that Kehrer is facing up Kane here, and you've got Rice ready to cut inside to make sure there's no runners, and even in behind him, Zuma is marked, ready to cover any runs in behind him, which is good positioning. So in this example, you can see Højbjerg's going to see a pass. He's going to try and play in Kulusevski. Kehrer steps in, intercepts, and just plays it to Rice. So, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the main focus of today's tutorial is just to make your team difficult to play against, in the hope that you can get forward and make an opportune moment to try and grab a goal and get a goal against your rivals. In this case here, Antonio gets a lucky rebound and then puts in the rebound, and then obviously we get a nice little break here as Benrahma gets pulled back in the box with a penalty to make it 2-0. I think it's going to be Bowen from the penalty spot in the end. But as I was saying, it's just literally about making yourself difficult to play against. When EA set up those lines, they set them up so it was easier for FIFA Ultimate Team players to score goals. What you're trying to do is recorrect that and make your team a little bit more compact and give you a chance. So you'll see here Bowen puts away the penalty nicely in the top corner. Now keep in mind, you're not always going to be able to keep a clean sheet. Even some of the best teams in the world are going to score against you. And in this example here, you can see that Thilo Kehrer actually mistimes his jump. That's kind of on me, I pressed it too early. But Perisic here, you can see the finish. It's a postage stamp finish right in the top corner. It's a fantastic finish by him once presented with the opportunity. And look at the difference this makes. You can see a difference is made by half-time. In the example before, they had 4 shots on goal. And by full-time, Spurs were in double figures for shot attempts on goal. In this example, with the positioning, they did score, but they only had 4 attempts all 90 minutes. What you're essentially doing is saying, yes, I want to play this formation, but I need to make the formation lineup more compact on the field of play. There has to be less passing lanes for the comp to exploit. You'll notice as well that the goal Spurs scored against me in the second game was significantly higher quality as well. Yes, there was an individual error, but when presented with the opportunity, Perisic did well to finish it with a fantastic finish. Rather than in the first game where the players just barging round one into another and shooting low all the time, there was an air of creativity about the goal that Spurs scored in this one. So you can argue that the defensive positioning has actually helped the quality of the game somewhat. What I'd like you to do is just take on board some of the information that I've provided to you, and obviously I'm going to give some examples as well of clean sheets so that you can sort of go away and experiment with it yourself. But just keep in mind, you're moving the defenders and midfielders back at least 10 clicks as well as inside 10 clicks to make it way more difficult for them to break you down. So here's a quick example. I did replay the game just to obviously show you guys you can actually get a clean sheet using these tactics and setup. Antonio and Scamacca scoring the goals. Here's the full-time statistics. As you can see, they had some fouls committed there, but still only 4 shots on goal. They were expected to score twice, and they didn't score at all. So obviously the defence playing really well, and obviously getting good result there against Spurs. Now, as I've mentioned throughout the video, you can apply this to any formation, to any team. Just make sure that you're making sure that your formation and lineup and defensive position of your players is further back and narrower than it is on the default screen, at least by 10 clicks in and 10 clicks back. Please experiment with this in different formations and see how you get on. Let me know in the comments what's worked for you. Alright guys, that's it for today's tutorial video. I hope some of what I've said has made sense. Please consider subscribing to the channel. If there's a tutorial video that you'd like me to pick up and explain, whether it's offense, whether it's things like you know, setting up free kicks, things like that. Whatever it is, whether it's Youth Academy Scouting, anything like that, just pop it in the comments, let me know what you'd like to see. If there's something that you're having trouble with, especially after I've explained everything, if there's something you don't understand, please reach out to me and let me know in the comments. Get in touch with me. I'm also on Facebook as well as Twitter and Instagram. If you've enjoyed this video, slap a like on it for me. And like I said, consider subscribing to the channel to help support me in making the channel grow. I've enjoyed putting the tutorial together. I hope it does help some of you, and I hope you do well with your career modes. I'll see you guys real soon.